Today's video is sponsored by Keeps.
No free ads. Actually,
Hair loss is a massive thing that studies say 2 out of every 3 guys will experience by the age of 35. The best way to attack a problem such as inevitable as hair loss is to get out way in front of it and not wait until you're pretty much all bald. Keeps, they're so advanced in the game that
Cap was dealing with this shit at 20.
they actually offer you a licensed online doctor that will take a deep dive into your hair loss situation and prescribe you the right medications specifically for your head. Then your medication is shipped to your front door every 3 months. It doesn't get much clutcher than that. Also, with your doctor, you have 24/7 access to.
You need that, TK? You close? Y'all niggas some haters, bro. My head is full. My hair just short. I ain't balding, bitch. Get off my dick. Hating ass niggas.
To message them and keep them on track with your journey, or just ask them any questions you may have. If you guys want to keep your hair like I do, visit keeps.com/swishout or just click the link in my description. They're offering you guys half off of your first order plus everything that I just mentioned. Big shout out to Keeps for always looking out for the channel and most definitely making sure my guys can keep their hair.
And here is LeBron James. How does it feel to know that if you're not eventually a Hall of Fame caliber player, it's not good enough to be good or an all-star. If you're not eventually a first-rank Hall of Famer, a lot of people will say you were a bust or overhyped.
How does that make me feel?
Yeah.
Well, I don't look at it as looking into the future. I always go by, I take every moment at a time because you're not promised tomorrow. And that's what my mom brought me up on, and I always say that I just try to get better every day at what I do.
Your mom raised you pretty much by herself. There was a man named Eddie Jackson in your life that you've called your surrogate father, but your mom was a teenage mother, unmarried. What's the first thing you want to do for your mom now that the money is coming in?
I told her I was gonna buy her a house with some grass. I think that's gonna be the first thing I do for her, a house with some grass and whatever she needs. You know, everything that she needs, I'll be there to give it to her.
W. I don't see how niggas hate LeBron, bro.
LeBron James, to me, all things considered, is the greatest athlete of all time. I'm talking about expectations, comparisons, scrutiny, impact, production, and most importantly, longevity. When you bundle all those things together, to me, he's unmatched. I do think Michael Jordan had the greatest NBA career of all time, but when I add context, LeBron's is just more impressive for me. Getting drafted directly after high school, coming from a single parent household, being from an inner city, having the highest expectations in NBA history and somehow exceeding them, I still don't feel like it gets the proper credit it deserves, and it probably won't until he hangs him up. Tom Brady is the GOAT, football-wise, but his path as a 6th-round pick without any expectations, it doesn't really compare. Michael Jordan played in the era without social media and without the ridiculous amount of access to information that we have now, and he still took 2 breaks. LeBron had the misfortune of playing in the information age and probably having the most unfair expectations of any athlete in any sport ever, especially as an 18-year-old. Those same unfair narratives and those same unfair expectations will now unfortunately be directly passed to his son, LeBron James Jr., aka Bronny James. Now, I didn't want to touch on this subject too soon, mainly because I feel like I'm only adding to the problem, but trust me, my small platform won't even compare for what's in store for Bronny James's basketball future. Bronny is a high school junior at Sierra Canyon, and right now he's about the 34th ranked player in his class. Not your typical ranking for a future 1st-round prospect, but it's definitely not anything to scoff at. Some scouts, they love him and they think he has basketball brilliance with a very high IQ, a pass-first style a la his dad, and really his ability to prioritize team success over his own individually, very similar to LeBron. LeBron came out recently and said a goal of his is to actually play a season with his son, something that we've seen before in sports, most notably with Ken Griffey Jr. and Sr., but we've never seen that in basketball. The difference in that situation, in contrast to LeBron and Bronny's, is Ken Griffey Jr. actually had the height for his game, more so like LeBron did. ESPN even called him the closest thing to a guaranteed star that the draft had ever seen. So he was actually more like LeBron, and Bronny would be more like if Ken Griffey Jr. followed by having Ken Griffey III following after him. LeBron wanting to play a season with his son, to me, it's a beautiful thing. And I think we all can agree it's coming with pure intentions and Bronny's best interest in LeBron's heart. But it also can be a little detrimental to Bronny basketball-wise and even personally trying to grow and develop as your own man. Like I said, LeBron is a great dad, and as a player who's been through the expectation standpoint of sports to the highest degree, I believe he just wants to be there to help shield him from the everyday stresses that will come with the name that he has. But the reason I feel like it may hurt him,
I would never play basketball. I'm doing a different low-key sport. I just know he not having fun like that.
Nigga like me would have played football. Bronny could have been, listen, you know what's crazy? Bronny could have been the best quarterback that ever touched the field. Imagine your daddy was the best player that ever played basketball and you the best quarterback that ever, like, you feel me? That nigga Bronny is going to end up 6'5", 6'6", right? Imagine he played football. Like, he just played quarterback. What, nigga? Come on, bruh. Come on, bruh. Bron ain't letting? Oh, damn, that's tough. Man.
is because it's still somewhat stunning his growth and forcing him to walk in your shadows, which is going to happen if they're on the same damn team.
Is he really?
He can never detach from you and become him.
I'm gonna be honest. Unpopular opinion. I think Bryce gonna be better than Bronny long run.
I'll use this as a pretty recent example. Lonzo Ball. I think the expectations part of Bronny will be very comparable to Zoe. A lot of people thought Lonzo's stock rose the way it did simply because of the marketing of his dad. LeVar became the world's most popular father in 2017 simply because of his braggadocious tone when discussing his sons. This also hit a whole new peak when he got drafted to LA, where he's from, and Magic Johnson latched onto the wave and said stuff like this. This was always, and I said this back then when I first started this channel, this was always the worst thing that could have happened to Zoe. He had way too many expectations from the start. His father was sitting front and center at all the games in LA, and Magic Johnson pretty much declared him the heir apparent to him, the greatest ever at his position. It just wasn't fair. Most people can't handle that. It wasn't until he completely detached himself from the entire Lakers situation and then he grew into the player that he was naturally supposed to be, not who his dad or us, who we chose him to be like. Also, and this may be a little sensitive, but I believe this to be true from personal experiences, dads that didn't have dads themselves, they tend to overdo it at times. Mind you, this comes from the most beautiful place with the most purest intentions, but I heard a great quote from Aunt Viv on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air one time. She said, we as parents, we work so hard to give our kids what we didn't have that we forget to give them some of the positive things that we did have. Some of those things may seem minuscule in the whole grand scheme of things, but they tend to be huge, like freedom of choice, freedom of independence, the ability to make mistakes, the ability to struggle.
I like that though, you feel me? Because it's true. Niggas who grew up without a dad, and I'm not saying this is a good thing, but you had to learn, you feel me, and gain knowledge on your own, so that lets you fall. And I'm a big believer in the sooner you fail, the better, because that means you grow. Once you hit that wall and you get past that wall, that's growth, you feel me? And the sooner you get to that, the better. So when niggas who didn't have dads themselves have kids, you know, they feel like they gotta shield their son from everything because they don't want them to go through the hardships that they went through. But you gotta understand, the hardships you went through is what made you who you are. You feel me? Shielding your son from that only gonna prolong the inevitable. He gonna have to deal with hardships sooner or later. The sooner you let that little nigga handle that shit himself, the sooner he gonna yami.
All those
Telling you, I'm throwing my son to the wolves at 13.
things made these players who they are today. I want y'all to hear this dope clip of Gary Payton Sr. advising Draymond Green Sr. on this very same thing. I watched this podcast in its entirety, and when thinking about this video, I thought about this one amazing moment.
Nigga said, praying for your child. My son gonna be alright. He'll be good. He'll figure it out.
But as a father myself, of Draymond Green Jr., obviously I have two daughters. You know, what I struggle with daily is
I'm not naming my son after me. I feel like that's like, it's cool, but I don't want my son to feel like he's in my shadow. Do your own thing, man. Live your own life. Be your own person.
what's too much and what's not enough. You know, like, I know
If my son is 6'4", all of it would have been worth it. Every single short joke, every midget joke, every girl that dubbed me because I wasn't 6 foot, every single moment would have been worth it. If my son ends up 6'4", and like in the NFL or some shit, all of it. Every single. I'd lay there in my deathbed and be like, I did it for you. It's okay. When I get old, I'd be like, I knew it. It was all worth it. Trust the process.
For me, my goal always has been, I don't want my kids to live the same life that I lived growing up. But in saying that, I am who I am because of the life that I lived.
Our son is going to be rebellious against us, and I'm telling you right now, your son is going to be rebellious against you because he's named after you. And once he goes to school, people are going to be like, oh, you're not your dad. You can't be like your dad. And they're going to tease him. But I say this, don't give him too much. Gary II is a good example. He didn't get drafted. Running around G leagues and doing that type of stuff and learning how hard it is to struggle. And I'm glad that he struggled because now he knows how to get through it. And I appreciate the work he did because every summer he had to work, didn't know what team he's going to be on, didn't know if he was going to sign with nobody. Now he's in that position where he can get away from that because he's found that struggle and he found the way how to work.
Bronny, as we speak right now, is projected to be a second-round pick, and he stands at about 6'3", and he's 17 years old. LeBron came into this league at 18, around 6'8", and already had an extremely high IQ. He just needed to polish a few things offensively, like his perimeter shooting. Already having the size and being so freakishly athletic paired with his IQ, it pretty much granted him the time to grow into some of the more detailed parts of his game in due time. I don't think Bronny is going to be as big as his dad. I don't think he's as athletic as his dad. So he's going to have to come in a little bit more polished. The smaller you are, the more you have to have in your bag and the less time you actually have to grow into your skill set. You're already at a deficit. This is another reason why I kind of don't like the 2024 Bronny LeBron narrative, because what if Bronny isn't a one and done prospect? What if he needs more time to sharpen his tools because he's not as big and as athletic as his dad? These are all things I feel like LeBron, if he isn't already, I'm not saying he isn't, but you have to consider. You can't put your personal desires over what's best possibly for his career in the long run. Lastly, and another reason why I just hate this comparison, bruh, you cannot compare LeBron's burning passion to thrive in this league in comparison to Bronny's. Like, it's no comparison. Yes, LeBron is supposed to say the right things about his son. Bronny has the burning passion just like I did at that same age. All that, I get that. But we heard at the beginning of the...
I'm not going to lie, and I'm not saying he don't, but he doesn't have the edge that Bron had because Bron had to do it because he had to get niggas out. When you have that safety net in the back of your mind, you like, worse, if this doesn't work out, I'll be fine. You start to like, you might not initially think that, but over time that doubt creeps, that doubt lingers, and you sit there and you be like, well, worst case scenario, I have a fallback. So, you feel me? You really want to get this shit? You gotta throw this shit at yourself. You gotta think it's either this or death. There is no fallback. It has to work. Ain't no if it work. Ain't no backup plan. It has to work. You feel me?
Video, one of LeBron's main motivations to thrive in this league was to give his mom a better life. Bronny has never even had a life that wasn't quote unquote a better life, and even if he wanted to give his mom a better life, it's impossible. So the paths, they're just too different to even compare, and I just feel like
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. It's gonna be tough for Bronny, especially if you do make it to the league, because I don't know how you, like, no matter what he does, it's going to be damn near impossible to do what his dad did. I think Bronny should have, like, played football or something, bro. For real. Try to be the best at something else. Granted, you feel me? Basketball is cool, but, like, that expectation is gonna be rough, bruh. Hey, man, if he built for it, he built for it. Bron came into the league with high expectations and triumphed heavily. Do you think Bronny is LeBron? And be honest with me, bro. He's not his dad. And there's nothing wrong with that. no one expected him to live up to that. I can already see now Skip Bayless cooking LeBron James Jr. because he's not his daddy. Wow, LeBron, you didn't get your son to the level necessary to be able to hold it. Like, bro, don't sit here and say niggas don't expect him to be that, bro. You know exactly what niggas expect from him, bro. Like, come on, my nigga.
You just have to let Bronny grow into whatever he's going to be. If you guys like this video, make sure you guys like this video. Like I said, I'm not too big on this. With Ken Griffey Jr., one of the biggest reasons Ken Griffey Sr. was even on the team is because of how great Ken Griffey Jr. was. Well, Bronny, his stock is rising because of his dad instead of it being vice versa, and I just don't really like that. I want Bronny to grow into whatever he's supposed to be. Like I said, like this video if you like this video. Follow my social media sites. Turn on post notifications. Do all that great stuff, guys. And until next time, as always, stay tuned.
That was a cool video.